Okay, good morning, students. Good morning, Mandira, Ravi, and Sangeeta. So, almost you are ready. So, we are starting a new lesson today from your book Beehive, that is A Legend of the Northland, a new poem. Okay, so today we will start a poem, A Legend of Northland. Good morning, Lakshmi. So, I hope everyone is ready. Yes, are you ready with your books? You just take out your book, Beehive, and it will be page number 65. Good morning, Malay. It will be page number 65, A Legend of Northland. A Legend of Northland. Okay. Good morning, Anamika. So, shall I start now? Okay, so I will start A Legend of Northland. Before starting the poem, I will just give you an introduction of this poem and about the poetess. A Legend of Northland is written by Phoebe Cary. Phoebe Cary, poetess, okay, a female poet. Phoebe Cary, who is an American poetess, who was an American poetess. She was born on 4th September 1824 and died on 31 July 1871. Okay, so a legend of Northland. Legend means a strange story. Okay, a strange story. You have, if you just remember, we have Hindi movies related with like a legend. The word legend, a legend of Bhagat Singh. No, where we know about the story of Bhagat Singh, about his struggle for his country and all. No, so similarly, this is also a strange story related with Northland. Okay, so Northland means what Northland is actually. Northland is actually, it is near the North Pole, or you can say the northern part of it, northernmost part of it. But here, exact uh, the name of exact country or location is not mentioned, but we can just get an idea that from where this about which country the story is actually, just we can have an idea like it's near the North Pole. We will get some country like Greenland, Canada, Alaska, Scandinavia, or Russia. So it might be of that place. Okay, so it's not mentioned. So a legend is actually a strange story about the people of Northland. We will know about a very interesting story. It is actually a poem, but it tells us a story. It tells us a story about the people of about Northland. Okay, so this poem narrates the legend of an old lady. This poem actually narrates the legend of an old lady, and who angered Saint Peter because of her greediness, because she was very selfish, that she made a very innocent, very good Saint Peter. She make him angry. And why she make him angry? So this is written in this poem. At first, let's know that this poem is actually a ballad. Okay, now what is ballad? A ballad is actually a song narrating story. A ballad is a song narrating a story in short stanzas. So a ballad is a song narrating story. It is a story. It is actually narrated in a as a song, but narrating a story in very short stanzas. You will have four line in one stanza. You will have four line in each line. You will have four line in each stanza. You will have four line, and also you can say 16 stanzas is also a ballad is also that have 16 stanzas. Even in this poem, we have 16 stanza poem. This poem is 16 stanza poem, which is also known as ballad. Okay, and what is a ballad? A ballad is a song narrating story in short stanzas. And this ballad are a part of folk culture or popular culture. It was a part of folk culture and are passed on orally from generation to generation, next generation. So this story is actually passed on from generation to generation. Like we can say, though it was a very short story, but when it was passed on to from one generation to after, there the some new sentence, some new things are added with it, and then it become a very long story. Like if we talk about our grandfathers and all, they might have told you some stories, grandparents, isn't it? So what happened, the same story is passed on by us to our children. So what we do, we add some new things on it. So similarly in this poem also some new things are added, and it has become a long story. It's 16 stanza story, but a very interesting story. Okay, so a legend of Northland is a ballad. So if a question come, what is a ballad? You can see it in page number 67. It is written in a box. A ballad is a song narrating a story in short stanzas. Ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next. So that a legend is a ballad. Okay, so let's start the poem now. If you have any doubt, you just ask me. Okay, you just write it in the chat section. Okay, so away in the Northland, where the hours of day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. So in the first stanza, what the poetess actually says us, she tells us that away in the Northland, very far away in the Northland, where the hours of day are few. The daytime is very short. In the Northland, the daytime is very short, and the nights are so long in winter. And night are so long. As we all know, in winter, nights are very long, isn't it? So that they cannot sleep them through. And nights are so long that a person cannot sleep the whole night, because he used to wake up every time, and then if he sees that, but still night is not over. So the night are so long that they cannot sleep the whole night. As they will complete one sleep, they will wake up to see if it is morning or not, if it is daytime or not, but still one will find then that it is not a daytime. The day it's not day, it's still night. So that is what about the Northland. Okay, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledge when it snows, and the children look like bear's cub in their funny furry clothes. Now here, as it is very as it is a winter time, so where they harness the swift deer, so they actually the people of the Northland, they harness the swift reindeer, so they do not have any vehicle like car and all. How they, because snowfall, uh, in the winter there used to be snowfall and the road are all covered with snow, so it is very difficult for a vehicle to pass on from one place to another. So in that place, they harness means to tie an animal with a rope. Okay, to tie an animal with a rope, so as to make a vehicle with that help of that animal. So when they harness the swift reindeer is a kind of animal. So these are actually used in the polar region, this reindeer, and this animals helps the people of the Northland to travel from one place to another. So what they do, with the help of the reindeer, they just tie this animal with a rope. Okay, okay, once again, yeah, okay, I will repeat once again. So, okay, in the first stanza, what it says that very far away in Northland, somewhere in Northland, the place is not mentioned, but we can know that Northland means somewhere in the North Pole, okay, northernmost part. So, in the Northland, the hours, the daytime is very short. The day is very short, and the nights are so long that one cannot even sleep the whole night. Like we know that in winters night are long, days are short, isn't it? In North Pole, nights are long and days are short, as it is winter time, it is in the winter time. But nights are so long that one cannot sleep the whole night. If one just suddenly wake up completing their sleep, they find that day has not started. It's still night, and they cannot sleep the whole night. Clear? So, clear, Sangeeta? So, now in the second stanza, what the poetess tells us that the people of the Northland, as they don't have any vehicle, okay, they don't have any. Yes, in summer the day is short. Yeah. No, in summer the day is not short. The day is long in summer, and the night is short. Short. Now you can see that the night are short. Okay. Okay. Good morning, Mirban. So, so now in the second stanza, what the poet actually say? Poetess should say that they, as it is a snowy season, snowfall uh, used to be in that particular place in the North Pole. There almost it's a snowy area. There the roads are all covered with snow. So now they harness the swift reindeer. So they have a reindeer, an animal that actually helps them to travel from one place to another. So they just tie a rope with rope on that reindeer to the sledge. To the sledge. Sledge means like you can say a cart. Okay, they will have a cart. Sledge is a cart. So in that cart, they will tie the reindeer with a rope, and they will attach that sledge with the reindeer so that one can sit on that sledge. Okay, it's a cart, and this reindeer will take the people from one place to another, as they don't have any other vehicle to travel from one place to another. Okay, so in that in North Pole, they harness the swift reindeer just to move from one place to another when it snows, when there is snowfall at that time. And the children look like bears come in their funny fury clothes. And it is so cold there. The children, they used to wear the warm clothes, no? The warm clothes. And when these children, they wear those warm clothes, they look like a bear cub, a small baby bear. They look like a small baby bear because they are all covered with warm clothes, because it is very cold in North Pole during the winter time. Okay, clear? So let's go to the third stanza. They tell them a curious story. I don't believe it is true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. Now the poetess, she says us that they tell. They means who? The parents, the elders in the North Pole, the parents, they tell the children. They tell their children a very curious story. Curious means very interesting story. I don't believe it is true, but the poetess, she doesn't believe that this story are true. It is actually not true. It is not a true story according to the poetess, and yet you may learn a lesson. But she says that yeah, though it is not a true story, but yes, you can learn a lesson from it. But yes, the story teaches you some lesson, gives you some lesson. If I tell the tale to you, and now she says us that if I will tell the same story to you, you will realize that this story, though the story are not true, the story is not true, but it gives us some message, it teaches us some lesson of life. Okay. So then she starts the story. Now from the fourth stanza, the story starts. Okay, let's see what is the story. Once, when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it, preaching, just as he did, you know. So now, in the fourth stanza, the poetess, she starts the same story to us. So it is said that once there was a good Saint Peter. Saint means a disciple of Jesus Christ or a follower of Jesus Christ. Okay. So once there was a Saint Peter, a good Saint Peter, very good saint. He lived in the world below, and when he was in this world below, means in this world, when he was alive and he was living in this same world where we are living, and worked about it preaching. And what he does, he worked all through the world. Third stanza, okay. In the third stanza, the poetess, she says us that this people of the Northland, they tell their children some stories, very curious story, very interesting story. But the poetess, when she heard the story, when she has heard the story, she's sure that the stories were not true. She believed that the stories were not true, because after listening to the story, she came to an idea that the story is actually not true. It's not a very logical story, and yet you may learn a lesson. And then she said, but though the story were not true, though the story is not true, but yes, they teach you some lesson. They give you some lesson of life, means they teach you some very good things. And she also tells us, you will also believe it. The story is not true, but it teaches lesson. When I will tell, means when the poetess will tell us that story, then we will be agree with the poetess. In the third stanza, she explained this thing. Okay. So after that, she start that poem. She start that story to us, so that we will also realize the story is not true. It is not a very true story, but it teaches some lesson. Okay. Okay. So let's see now. So here in the fourth stanza, the poetess, she said that once there was a good Saint Peter, a very good Saint Peter, follower of Jesus Christ, you can say. He lived in the same world. When he was alive and when he lived in the same world, and worked about it preaching, and he just worked the whole country, whole world, preaching means to give a religious talk, no, to give deliver a speech about God, about Jesus Christ. So he preached. So the whole world, he used to just work about the whole world, and he used to preach, he used to tell the people about God. Okay, which line, Mandira, which stanza? Which stanza you have not understood, Mandira? Okay, I'm repeating the poem, okay, from the beginning. Maybe some of you have come late, so that's why you have not understood. Okay, I will just tell you what the poetess is telling us in this poem from the beginning. In the first stanza, the poetess, she tells us that away, very far away in the Northland, the Northland, where in the northernmost part of the northernmost part, there the hours of the days are very few, means the days are very short, and in the winter the nights are very long, and nights are so long that one cannot sleep throughout the night. As they complete their sleep and just wake up to see that still the night is going on, the day has not started, so they are tired of sleeping in the Northland. Because why they are tired of sleeping? Because the nights are very long for them in the winter time, and the days are very short. And in the second stanza, the poetess, she says that in that place, as it is very like cold time, it is a winter time in the Northland, and in the Northland there is, where is Northland? Northland is in the North Pole. It is in the northernmost part. Okay, here exact area is not mentioned, but we just can. If you see a map, you can see in the north, which in the North Pole, you can see Greenland, Canada, Alaska, Scandinavia, Russia. So it might be somewhere like that, but the exact area is not mentioned in the poem. Okay. So in the second stanza, the what the poet is actually says that it is so cold during that time in the Northland, that snowfalls. There is a snowfall in the winter, and due to the snowfall, the roads are all covered with snow. So people cannot travel in car and all. Like they don't have, they cannot use car to travel from one place to another. Uh, so in the during that time, they used to take the help of the reindeer. Okay, It's a kind of animal, and this reindeer, it just move very smoothly. So this reindeer, they are tied with a rope with and they are attached with a sledge. Sledge means a cart where one can sit, or a person can sit in the sledge, and the reindeer will just take them. They will just take them like a vehicle. It work it, okay. So they used to take the help of the reindeer to travel from one place to another during this snowy time, okay. And the children, it's so cold there that the children, as they put on some warm clothes, the children, they are fully covered with warm clothes, that they look like a small bear, uh, baby bears. They look like small baby bear because it is so cold in Northland, okay. And then the poetess, she says in the third stanza, that they tell these people, the people of Northland, the parents there, they tell their children or grandparents, you can say, so they tell their children some story, very curious story, very interesting story. But the poet, she believed that the story is not true. She actually realized that the story that are told by the that are told by the parents of to their children in the Northland, this story are not true. Of course, sometimes we have also heard some stories from our grandparents, is not it? But they doesn't exist in the world, is not it? But they tell us some story. They just to just to give us some lesson of life, but they are not exactly true. Similarly, the parents in the Northland, they tell their children some stories which are actually not true. The poetess, she find that this story are not true, but yes, she also believed, she also realized that though these story are not true, but they give us some lesson, they teach us some lesson, okay. And then she says that we will also believe and agree with her when she will tell the story to us. So now she start this story about what about like she start the story from the fourth stanza. She start the story, the same story to us, okay. So now in the fourth stanza, she says that there was a saint Peter, good Saint Peter, saint who actually preach, who actually is a follower of Jesus Christ. He lived in the world below. He lived in the same world. Once he lived on that in the world, and he, what he used to do, he used to just walk around the world just to preach. Preach means to give a religious talk to the people. Okay, so he used to just roam around the whole world and he used to preach just as he did, do you know? And she says that yes, he did the same way as you know. So you know, you might know that how he did it. So the whole he will just how he did, like if he doesn't stay in a particular place, he will just roam and roam. He will preach about God, and that was his work. Okay. So now he came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. So now what he said in this stanza, that as he was just walking around and preaching about God, suddenly he came to a door of a cottage. He found a small house and he just came nearby the door of that house. In traveling round the earth, after traveling round the earth, he came to a small house. He found a small house and he came there, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. And there, a little woman, a very small woman, very little, a small woman, she was making cakes. He found that woman in that house, a woman lived in that house and she was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. And she was baking that cake on the hearth. Hearth means a wooden fireplace, okay. Fireplace, a wooden fireplace. So she the in the this stanza, the poet, he says that the Saint Peter who used to preach just walking about the whole world, he came to a door of a cottage where he found a small woman who was making cakes, and she was baking the cake on the hearth. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. And now this man, this Saint Peter, he became very weak with fasting, because he used to preach fast. He used to fast means vratlina, okay, without taking any food. So he was fasting, and as he was just preaching the whole day, he became very weak because he has not eat or drink anything. So for the day was almost done, and he has completed that preaching for that day, and he was becoming very weak as he was fasting. He asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. So when he just got, when he saw the small house, he went to that house, and he found that a small woman was there who was making cake. So he thought that he will ask some cake from him, so then that he can actually feed him, because he was becoming very weak due to fasting. So he asked from her store, because she has a store of cake. She has made baked lots of cakes there, and she has made a store there. She just put it on the store. So when he saw that she has a store of cakes, he asked him to give a single cake, single one, little bit from her cake, from that piece of, from her store of cake. He just requested her to just give him a single one. Okay, clear everyone? If you have doubt, just write it down. So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. So now she made a very little cake. So when she found that a man outside, a man who came to her house, he's asking some cake. So now this woman, she was a miser woman. Miser means very conjuice, you can say, very selfish. Okay. So she made a very, because she has a store of cake, she could have takes one cake and she could have given it to the Peter, isn't it? But she did not do like that. What she did, she started making a very little cake, very small cake. But as it baking lay, and when she prepared everything, and then she started baking the cake, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. And when she found that she found when she just put the cake to bake it, she found that the cake became very large, just to give away to the that Peter. She doesn't want to give away, because the the cake the cake was very large, very big to give away to someone. So she was very selfish. She have lots of cake, but she's not ready to give a single piece of cake to that man. Therefore she needed another, and still a smaller one, but it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. So now she already have lots of cake in her store. Again she's making another cake, because she is very selfish woman, very greedy woman. She doesn't want to give away the big cake to anyone. She want to give very smaller cake to him. So again, when she found the first cake, when she prepare the first cake, she found it, when it baked, she found that it was very large to give away. So again, what she did, she needed another. Okay, needed means to make dough from flour. Dough, no, while making chapati, we make dough, no, with flour. So she make dough another, and it was very smaller than the first one, very small. And it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. And then, when again she prepared everything, she baked it, she found that this cake was larger than the first one. So again, she cannot give this cake to him, because for her, it was a larger one. Now Saint Peter, he is so hungry, isn't it? He's so hungry. He was fasting the whole day. He asked a single piece of cake, and this woman, she is actually she is making her to wait. She's trying to, she's not actually giving her the cake. As for her, whenever she make a cake, for her it looks very larger one. Though in the second time she took a very small dough, But while it was ready, she found that this is more, this is larger than the first one. So this one also she didn't give it to Peter. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer. But she couldn't part with that. Now she took a tiny scrap of dough. Again, she took a very tiny, very small scrap of dough, very small amount of dough. Okay, and then what she did, she rolled and rolled it flat. How we make chapati, no? With this balan and all. So she rolled it very flat than the first and second one, very flat, and baked it thin as a wafer. And she baked that dough thin as a wafer. Wafer, I think you know it. Like we have, we if you had seen the ice cream cone, is not it? Cone, that is wafer, okay? Or if you eat this Kit Kat and all, you have wafer, is not it there? So that is a wafer, okay? So now uh, she took a very small one and she rolled it very flat, and it's so thin like a wafer. It was thin as a wafer, but she could not part with that. But again, that one also she could not give it to um, Saint Peter. Okay, so 3 times she has made cake, but she did not give a single amount of cake to Saint Peter, because for her it seemed too large. When it is ready, and to give away to someone, it seemed too large to give away to other. For she said, "My cakes that seem too small, when I eat of them myself, are yet too large to give away." So she put them on the shelf. Now what she said that her cakes that seemed too small, whenever she make a cake, she find it's very small cake when she by herself. When she tried, when she eat by herself, she find that the cake is very small. But the same cake, if she want to give it to someone, if she want to give it to someone, she found it very large to give away. And then what she did, she just put it on the self. So she is very selfish woman. Okay. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Now this Saint Peter, who was a very good Saint Peter, he grew angry. Now he grew very angry because he was very hungry and he is supposed to be unconscious. Okay, he's going to be faint. So he was so hungry that this woman is enough. This woman is enough. Okay, so what happened? Then good Saint Peter, he grew angry. Okay, for he was very hungry and faint. He was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Okay, so this Saint Peter, he grew angry because he was very hungry and he was just he was be star like he will be faint. He will be unconscious if he will not get food. And this woman, this selfish woman, she was enough, she was enough to provoke a saint who was very good enough. Now he is becoming angry. He is like provoke means to make angry. Okay, it was enough for this saint to make angry, because this woman, she is not giving her a single amount of cake. Okay, and he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have food and shelter, and fire to keep you warm." So now this woman, are you listening to me? While okay, you just while writing messages, just try to just understand it and write it properly, as this message has been seen by everyone. Okay, I hope who one you can understand to whom I am actually saying. Okay, so she was very selfish. Okay, that's why she did not want to give the cake to anyone. She doesn't want to give cake to anyone. She was very selfish, as she already told that if she make a cake, to make a cake to give it to someone, for her it seemed very large, but the same cake, if she eat by herself, then it seems very small to her. So now this Saint Peter, he became very much angry, as he was very hungry and he's going to be faint. So this woman was enough to make this such a kind person, to make angry to the to provoke this saint. Okay, provoke means to make angry. So she was enough, and now Saint Peter grew very angry, and he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter, and fire to keep you warm." So now he said, the Saint Peter, now he became so much angry that he said that you are far too selfish. To the woman, she said that you are very selfish, and like you are so selfish that you should not live. Dwell means to live. You are not allowed to live in a human form. You have got this human form. You are in the human form. You have got lots of things. You have enough food. You have both food and shelter, and also fire to keep you warm, but still you are becoming very selfish. You have everything with you, but still you cannot give a hungry person, a single cake. So you are becoming very selfish. So like live in human farm, it will like you should not get an opportunity to live in a human farm. Okay, now he became so much that he cursed the lady, the Saint Peter. He cursed the lady, and how, what he did? Now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. And then the Saint Peter, he became so angry that he cursed the woman. He cursed the woman. He said that now you shall build as a bird do. As you have got a very good life, you are in a human form. You have enough food to eat. You have shelter to live. You have fire to keep you yourself warm. But now you should not actually get this opportunity to live as a human form. Now you will build like a bird do. How the bird actually work hard to build their home, isn't it? And then you will get very enough food, because as you have so much food, but you have become so selfish that now you will not be in the form of human being, and you will be like birds. How the birds, they actually work hard, so you will have to build like birds, like build a nest like birds, and then you will get very scanty food. Okay, very less. Scanty means less. Okay, very little food. How the birds, they just fly around to search food, isn't it? So you will get very little food, and then you will be boring and boring and boring. Boring means like making a hole in something, no, making a hole in something with tool or digging. So we see woodpecker. You have seen woodpecker, no? What they do? They just make a hole on a hard wood, isn't it? Hard wood. They just make a hole to find some food for them. So they work very hard. So now you will be the man, Saint Peter. He just cursed the woman that now you will be like a bird. You will just bore the dry and hard wood to get some food, and you have to work hard to build a home for you, because you will not be allowed to live in a human form, because you are very selfish. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. Then he cursed the lady, her, the Saint Peter, he cursed the lady, and then she became and cursed it into a bird. She became a bird now, from a woman to a bird. And then up she went, and then she just went up through the chimneys. She flew up through the chimney, never speaking a word. Now she could not speak. Before, as a human form, she could have spoke. She could speak, but now she cannot speak. Without speaking a word, she just went through the chimney, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, and suddenly from that chimney a woodpecker flew. For she was changed to a bird, and this woman, she was changed into a woodpecker, and she became a bird. As the Saint Peter, he has cursed the lady, okay, because she was too selfish. She has not given him a single piece of cake. She had a scarlet cap on her head. But after becoming a bird, that woman, she had a scarlet cap on her head. Scarlet means very dark red color. We see, no, if you have seen woodpecker have a small a small cap on his head, no, on its head. It's red in color. So this woman, she was wearing a cap. Okay, she was wearing a red color cap. So when she was changed into bird, her the scarlet remained the same. The scarlet, it's remained the same, but all other rest of her body became a bird. Okay, and that was left the same. So that scarlet left the same, as she was wearing a scarf on her, a red color scarf, you can say. So that was remained the same. But all the rest of her clothes were burned. But other clothes, whatever clothes were there, it was burned. Okay, because she was changed into a bird, black as a coal in the flame, and it became black like a coal in the flame. So in this way, the Saint Peter cursed the woman, as she was very selfish, and she has got lots of opportunity as a human being. But now he actually changed her into a bird, so that she will realize it, that if that you should not be selfish enough, isn't it? And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. So now every country schoolboy. Now, now today, all we see this woodpecker, isn't it? We see woodpecker. So every country means belonging to the countryside, some rural areas. The schoolboy, while passing through, they see this bird. They see this woodpecker in her wood. And what she used to do, she lives in a tree. And today also we can see woodpecker lives in the tree. And what they do to find food, they just make hole on the trees to find some insects and all, to find her food. And in this way she used to live. Okay, so that is what legend of the Northland. So this story is not a true story, but it teaches us some lesson that we should not be selfish. When we have lots of thing with us, enough thing with us, then we should help others, isn't it? We should not be selfish, because if we will help others, if we will share our things with others, it will be very good for everyone. Okay, so that is what the poem A Legend of the Northland. So understood, everyone? Just reply. Okay, so here the first literary device, as we do not need everything in literary device, we need the rhyming scheme. Already I have told before. The rhyming scheme in the first stanza, you can see, if you have the book, you just see in the first stanza, what is the rhyming scheme of this book, of this poem. Okay, like first, last word, okay, Northland. Then you have few, winter, throw. Okay. So now here, Northland and winter, they are not matching, but few and true are matching. This kind of rhyming scheme, A, B, C, B, which actually matches. The same number will be, same alphabet will be given there. Okay, like in the second stanza, reindeer, snows, cubs, clothes. So reindeer and cubs doesn't match, but snows and clothes match. So you have in your question also, you will have the rhyming scheme. So this way you will just match the rhyming word. Okay, so I hope everyone has understood. So question answer, of course, I will give you as soon as possible. Okay, so once I just want to tell every one of you who are just watching the video, while sending messages, please think properly. Okay, while writing any words, you should think it properly. Okay, as this messages is being seen by everyone, just think about your image and write the messages. Okay, so I hope everyone has understood. Uh, Till then, just stay healthy, take care of yourself. Bye, students.